Let's talk a little bit about why this tag team didn't hit more. I mean, Booker T and Scott Steiner on paper seems like a fantastic tag team. The crowd's kind of dead for it though. Why didn't this click bigger as a tag team, do you think?
So, theory, I wasn't there, obviously, but I believe the energy, and so I'm told, the energy wasn't there all night. Um, Conrad, I mean, we can talk in circles, and it's all opinions and what was this and what was that. But at the end of the day, I think there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty backstage. It just, I'd never missed a pay per view,
Right.
even through my wife's passing, illness and passing. You know, dad had a health scare, travel, my ups and downs, and everything in between. I had never missed a TV or pay per view um, to date. I say that is yeah, that's just my feelings. I just think there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and I don't think, and I'm not saying the effort wasn't there. I just think the uncertainty across the board, and I think it always shines through. It just does. That's the nature of the beast, and I can remember the life lessons my old man would sit me down, especially out in Texas. He was, you know, you listen to a Skandar Akbar and a Bronco Lubitsch and Eric Embry, and I can remember being in a room upstairs at the Sportatorium and hearing just kind of, I guess you could just say, kind of the conversation going on. And look, Kevin and Kerry had sold out that building so many times, and the business had been red hot at times. But there just kind of came a time when, okay, there wasn't a lot of hope and this and that, and then the deal was struck, and there was some kind of structure put in place, and then the crowds in Dallas, there's a bright spot here and a bright spot there, and but at the end of the day, it's all fueled by hope, hope of a better day, hope of this thing's going to get back on track, hope that we're going to make more money, hope, hope, hope. But the kind of the I guess you could say that the other side of hope is, I don't say fear, but just kind of the uncertainty, and no answers were given, period. And when you hear that Rudy's gone, and I think Brian James was a casualty, I think I'm sure Dutch backstage when he's going through his conversations, somebody would ask him, Dutch, you think you're safe? He had like, hell no. I think it sent just the different messages that were going out. Silence is an answer, and I think that it's kind of permeates through this entire pay per view.
What a pay-per-view it is too on paper. I mean, Kevin Nash and AJ Styles, that feels like it's main event worthy. Scott Steiner and Booker T and Spear Money, that could have been a main event. And so could the next match. It's Samoa Joe and Sting. They're going to go 11 minutes and 36 seconds. Sting's going to be controlling it most of the way, or Joe's going to be beating on Sting most of the way, rather, until all of a sudden Sting comes back with a Stinger Splash and the Scorpion Deathlock. And they're teasing the idea that Joe might actually tap, and then Taz comes out. It's written here in the torch. Everyone expected this huge babyface pop for Taz, like nearly every star gets in TNA, but he got no reaction. It wasn't exactly clear if Sting let go of the hold for no reason or if Joe powered out of the hold. Sting delivers some moves that Joe would sell, but then pop up from. The idea that he was given inspiration by his mentor being there. What kind of psychology is this? Sting climbed to the top. Joe shook the ropes, so Sting crotches himself, and the finish was supposed to be Joe doing the muscle buster off the ropes. So Joe went to do it, but Sting wouldn't go up, and they both collapsed. Then Joe went for a regular muscle buster, and again, Sting wouldn't go up, and they both fell down. Then Joe just put the choke on and held Sting to tap, which he did. The finish killed what could have been at least a slightly better than average match, star and a half. You've got this big planned spot for Taz to come out. You don't get the reaction you want. And then you try for the finish a couple of times. Is there such a thing as a match just being snake bit? And is this an example of that?
And I wasn't there. So I would love to know, it'd be a little bonus episode. Sting, Joe, and Taz, just in their opinions. And look, it's 15 years ago. It's all subjective, as we know, creative subjective. Why didn't it click? What happened? What was the set of circumstances? Also, you can also say that's another thing about that impact zone. When you had the right energy and momentum, and I'll say this, from the opening dark match, it means a lot. It means a whole lot. When you start the momentum and the rocking and the rolling and it's going, and now we're 2.5 hours into the show, would be my guess, or 2:15. And nothing had really woke them up, that, or I'll say, just the rhythm wasn't there. So I don't know. I cannot speak to really give you any insight on why didn't it click.
Next up, we should mention before the main event, Mike Tenay is going to announce the signing of Bobby Lashley. He's going to be referred to as both a pro wrestling and MMA superstar. Lashley's at the show, but instead of having him do a pre-tape or having a big deal in the ring over him signing, they play a tape from a few days earlier of him doing an ESPN radio interview where he mentioned the signing. The interview saw him talk more about MMA, but he also talked about how he loved pro wrestling and made it clear that MMA was his focus. And that's fine to say publicly, but they're airing that on a wrestling show. I know you weren't there, but he was.
He was in the house.
Why are we rolling the tape of him there? Why aren't we bringing him out in front of? I don't get it.
Yeah, and I can tell these stories now. I got a couple of calls on this one and I'm like, hey guys, I'm out. I don't have a clue what's going on, and I've been told, it was I was to go radio silent, and I said I can't really answer any of this. I don't know. They're like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Not a good deal. I'll say that.
Well, let's talk about our main event. Maybe this can save it. It's Kurt Angle and Mick Foley, two bona fide Hall of Famers, two huge stars, and they're hooking it up for the TNA title, but the crowd is dead. The guys are doing the best they could. Angle's even going to hit a moonsault. He misses a moonsault, rather. That's a big spot, especially for a guy who's working hurt. Foley's going to try the DDT and then pull out the sock. Angle's going to throw Foley into the referee, Andrew Thomas. Angle is going to use a low blow in the Olympic slam, but Foley kicks out. Angle's upset with the referee and gives him an elbow drop. It's not DQ. I know what you're thinking. Foley uses an elbow drop off the apron onto the floor. Maybe that wasn't a good idea here. Foley throws him in the ring, goes for the pin. Angle kicks out. Foley's going for the Sacco again. Angle powers out, lands on top, is doing some grounded pound like it's an MMA match, and he grabs the ankle lock. Foley makes the ropes, but when Angle gets the hold again, Foley takes the sock off his hand, but he still didn't escape. Angle does the heel hook, and Foley taps. The entire Mafia gets in the ring to celebrate their wins, and the show goes off the air. 2.5 stars. This is regarded as being one of the worst TNA pay-per-views of all time, but on paper, boy, it looks strong. Kurt Angle and Mick Foley. The announcement that Bobby Lashley's here. Sting and Samoa Joe. Scott Steiner and Booker T against Spear Money. Kevin Nash and AJ Styles. I mean, on paper, this feels like it should have been a barn burner. And in execution, fans aren't with it. It's poorly reviewed. Still to this day talked about as one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. And maybe it's because of what was happening behind the scenes. That's the only thing I can put my finger on.
To me, and look, the joys and the pleasure of doing my world are having the opportunity to really sit down, and I try to be as objective as possible, because our business is so subjective. It is so opinionated. And me and you, Conrad, could sit down and watch the exact same match at the exact same time, but our eyes can go to different places, and our minds and our expectations or a big thing. Hey, we expected this, but didn't get it. We expected that, but they gave us this. All those kind of factors and layers upon layers upon layers. But on paper, with the momentum of the main event mafia and the story hitting one of its peaks, I'll say that, in that we gave the people a real opportunity to cheer for Sting because Joe was his opponent. Up to this point, Sting and the leader of the main event mafia, we'd had the, empty arena match and different cage matches and slam, just all the different things. But we had kind of give, I don't want to say kind of a from top to bottom, I thought we put on paper, I mean, the Team 3D, heels and baby faces, easy to understand. Beer money, okay, huge baby faces against Scott. Yeah, there wasn't any one thing that you could put oh no, I can't believe you're putting Kevin Nash against AJ Styles. Well, wait a minute. Are you telling me that Kevin and yeah, okay, you're right. Like everything on paper looked like it was going to at least be decent to pretty good.